We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode. I'm so excited. It's been a while. Brian and I have been fighting with Mac OS updates and technology, but we're live. This is going to be such an awesome guest. I love going to the data, going to these little cherry-picked stories of somebody who's just crushing it. I'm trying to remember. You just blown my mind in the last 5 minutes, Brian. But Shannon in support told me this story. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Let's get him on the show ASAP. Guys, we're going to talk about how Brian has really switched completely away from shooting weddings to shooting just families and booking clients consistently using Facebook ads. I'm going to show you step by step some of the things he's doing. He's going to walk us through the process. But first, Brian, welcome to the show. Let's have you go through our kind of rapid fire 3 questions. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. I'm going to play the intro and we're going to hit those our favorite 3 questions. So this is by the numbers. We always lay the foundation of these 3 questions. How many years have you been in business?
14 years.
All right. And then I'm going to interrupt myself. For those 14 years, what's the breakdown of what type of portrait niches have you been focusing on?
From the very beginning, it was weddings, but now I switched over to almost all families now. And it's wonderful. Looking at the numbers, it's night and day now that I see it.
Yeah. Good for you. We're going to dig way into that story there. But for now, how many sessions did you shoot last year?
Last year was over 150.
Okay. And then that was a mixture, or had you already made that whole transition to just family?
I was just starting into it, I think just late last year. So yeah, it's a good transition.
Congratulations. Now, what's your average sale now? What's it turned into?
Now it's just jumped up to, I believe it's 1,200 to look in the numbers, but the last few people have come on in and they just love wall collages and everything else too. So it's working out really well.
Congratulations. That's so cool. Okay, so I think we got to start at the beginning here. You got into being a portrait photographer over 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. Was it around your own marriage, your own wedding, yourself that kind of bit the bug? When did you really decide to jump all in?
Right out of college, basically. I mean, it was just what I wanted to do is just create art for couples, and I really loved it. And it was it's great, but now just so many people are wedding photographers, and it's a little bit harder market these days too.
It is. It's harder to stand out. And I think, when was the first time that you started? Guys, here's this number that just keeps echoing in my mind. Is Brian told me in the pre-call, he says, yeah, I'm getting phone calls at $2 a phone call.
I want to tell the truth, though. Only half the people pick up, but still, $4 a phone call. It's great getting people on.
Oh, it's so cool. So, okay, guys, check this out. So we're going to come back to that math he just did, but I want you to share what you told me. I think it sums up this whole transition, is that you realized you were not necessarily a photographer first, but instead.
So before, when I was shooting weddings, I was a photographer that had a business. Now I'm a business owner that is now a photographer. So I really go deep into the numbers, making sure, okay, I have to make this many phone calls to get this many clients. If I want this many per month, and I can basically raise and lower my income at will if I really wanted to. Just saying, okay, well, I'm going to do twice as many phone calls this month, and just put out the Facebook ads and comes on in. So, I mean, Facebook ads is just like a water faucet. You turn it on and off.
Oh, that's so fun to hear that. I think that before we run, I want to be responsible. I think that phrase, Facebook is like a water faucet, is something that a lot of photographers are chasing. Let's go to the before, because it wasn't like that. I'm assuming it wasn't like that immediately. how much time and money had you put into Facebook advertising before you got to this place you're at now where it's all working and it feels like a faucet?
I mean, quite a bit. I mean, I just knew that I still got the return on investment, even though like a couple years ago, just concentrating on high school seniors, and it worked, but there was no real direction I was giving my audience who clicked on my ads until I really got into landing pages and then really getting them to like, you have to fill in this form to move forward, and telling the people that click on it exactly what to do to a T. So having that flow of people, and then on the thank you page, just them clicking on something goes to Calendly, they schedule a phone call. There's no way out. They have to do it. So yeah, that's how I get people on the phone.
Okay. I love how quickly it wasn't that obvious to you and it wasn't that simple. I want to like rewind the clock for all of these little lessons. So it sounds like one of the first mistakes you were making before figuring it out, and through figuring out, you did a lot of education. You did learn some from Easton. You've got a coach. You've done some of the sticky education using our landing pages. But one of the first mistakes, it sounds like, you were sending traffic, like you'd run an ad that would just go to your website.
Exactly. So that's, I mean, what most people do, and even, all businesses try it. It's like, okay, I'll boost this post, but if you don't have any direction, no matter what photography or whatever business you own, if you just send them to your landing page, they don't know what to do either. They're just like, oh, well, that's nice. I'm going to go back to Facebook. So if there's no direction. So that's in the beginning.
Yeah, direction is such a good word. I like how you're using it. I think it's important that we are ourselves very directed in what is the thing we're trying to create, what's the goal. And I think that the end goal is, of course, the booking. I think we can all get around that. Like we all get our head, that's what we need more of. But then there's a bunch of little tiny baby steps that you just rattled off in a matter of like seconds, but they're all very important. I argue that a lot of marketing today, it's kind of like we're over across this like raging, freezing river saying, hey, I'm a photographer, come on over and book. Like, there's actually a path just under the water. There's some stones you can step on. You can't see them, but just trust me, they're there. And that's what so many photographers are doing. And it's like, yeah, hey, click on my ad and come to my website and click on all of the pages. I'm weddings and families and pets and boudoir sometimes. And it's just giving all of just come look around. There's no clear direction. There's no clear path. But really successful photographers like you are saying, no, let's put on blinders for our prospective clients. Let's only run ads to the certain type of people. And I'll ask you about that in a minute. But then we give them a very clear path. And sometimes I think that what a lot of photographers have figured out is once they can get on the phone with somebody, like once I hear that saying a lot, once I get on the phone or once I'm in person, I can turn that person into a client, because then they can get to know me. I just on my website, that's where I get lost. And so I don't think we need to make too many adjustments to that point. We can talk a little bit about tips for getting on the phone as we're done, but the real magic here is adding these tiny little stepping stones that lead up to the phone call, which leads to the booking, right? And sometimes the more small, easy to take stepping stones, the more successful the whole funnel is. Okay, so that's my rant on that analogy.
I did want to bump in, and I do want to say I'm just starting these stepping stones, as you say, in between them signing up for the phone call and then me getting on with the actual client. I actually retarget them with just random kind of posts so they can see my portfolio throughout the week until I hop on the phone call with them. So as soon as they get to that thank you page that they did sign up for the phone call, I have a pixel on there. I know I'm going way too fast, but
it's all good. It's good.
And then they basically will start to see more of my portfolio through the week. So they get like subliminal messages basically of like this, Kellogg Photography. Oh, he does this type of work. And as soon as I hop on the phone call, hey, I know you. So It's always good.
That's so I love that's one of my favorite cool ways to use retargeting that I've heard of in a while. That's really, really cool. We'll talk, for those of you guys that don't know what that means, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's back up. The goal of your Facebook ad is, of course, to get a booking, but the real thing you're driving and you're measuring, I think that the key to any successful marketing campaign is you've got a really good understanding of your numbers. Mm-hmm. So let's start with this $2 per call. That means that for every $2 that Brian is spending on Facebook ads, he's getting somebody to fill out a Calendly booking and schedule a meeting with you with him. What time? How much time is that? Is like a 15-minute phone call? What are they booking?
It's a 10-minute phone call, and they just book whenever I'm available, basically.
Yeah. Do you like limit the availability into a window at all?
I did in the past, but the more phone calls, it's the better chances I have for booking clients. It's just, in a way, it's like gambling. The more times you roll the dice, the more times that you'll win big, basically. Right. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to workshop this a little bit. I know you're working with a coach, but I want to help you optimize this number. So it sounds, and it's also good to, when you know your numbers this well, it helps you prioritize where you need to focus your time, right? If I heard that number was like $20 to get one person to schedule a 10-minute call, we would know that this funnel isn't going to work, right? We would have to fix something upstream. We have to fix his audience. Who's he sending ads to? We have to fix maybe the ad copy and the ad message and the landing page that's talking about these things. But it sounds like you're already getting people to this point, but half of the people are scheduling a call, but they're not showing up for the call. Are you expecting them to call you, or do you dial them at the scheduled time?
I do dial them at the scheduled time, but there's other techniques you can do of just putting an ad out there and just saying call during business hours if you're interested in the session. And sometimes that will work where the client's going after you as well. But right now, that's the way it's set up for me, is scheduled times. And then if they don't pick up, I'm going to be texting them and sending them a live video email through Buongiorno and making sure that they just like, hey, I'm here. If you're really interested, give me a call. So trying to hit them as many times as I can. Yep.
So one of the things that I've noticed be helpful, I think that 50% show up rate is actually pretty good. I've heard other people say something similar. Here's some quick tactics, guys. First, let me rant on Calendly or any online scheduling tool. I think I've been using something like it for at least 4 years. It's life-changing. Like when you first start scheduling your calendar and letting people find time on your calendar, they thank you for it. Like it's this reality, guys. People aren't comparing you to other photographers, really. They're comparing you to every other service that they're scheduled. Like they're comparing you to Amazon and how easy it is to do business with Amazon. They don't have time to do back and forth with like, what times are available for you? What times this is a cancel. Like nobody's got time for that, right? They love seeing a time that's available to them. Okay, so once we've made that foundation, I just think that so many photographers have written off and missed the opportunity of how powerful these online booking tools are because they file in their brain saying, no, I need to talk to people before I book. I can't let them just book a session right on an online form. I agree. Unless you're doing mini sessions, like, nope, I get it. You're right. But do what Brian's doing and just use this powerful tool to schedule your consults, to make that very first connection. It's the hardest thing. Right? Yeah. It's like, I love it. I love hearing you say that. So, okay. So Brian, here's some ideas for you. You can, I really recommend using either Calendly or your Google Calendar settings to make sure that there's only a couple options open on your calendar. I think there's this number one rule. There's those 6 principles of influence that Robert Cialdini talks about. One of them is scarcity. When somebody clicks on your Calendly link and they just see like all of the days open and all kinds of time.
True.
What is that telling them, right? There's that your time, you're not very busy, your time's not worth very much, and I can do this later.
There should be a feature in Calendly where it only shows 5 times. That would be the best. Even though available all these times, it'd be great.
So there's some cool ways I could share with you. I think the easiest thing sometimes is just to map it out, where you just create blocks of busy time in your Google Calendar. Sometimes, if you understand how to use that better, then you just say, look, I only want my times here, and you can just limit how many times it shows in a block, so that they really only have like one choice in the morning, one choice in the evening on each day. That's all you really want them to see, and that amazingly will increase the chances that they schedule a time with you. But we're talking about getting people to actually show up for the call. Calendly has an awesome new feature where they do SMS notifications. It's a paid feature, but I highly recommend turning that on, where it's asks their first name, email, and then, hey, would you like a reminder? They enter in their phone number, and then you can configure when those SMS notifications go out that confirm their time. The beauty is you also have their phone number now. And I would argue that if you are, it's like this delicate balance. I don't want you to like not be getting other strategic work done. But if you're hanging out in your office and you're just doing computer work and you notice that you've got a new appointment scheduled for like in a couple days, but you've got their phone number, I highly recommend sending that person a text and just saying, hey, I noticed you just scheduled a free consult for tomorrow, but I actually just had a cancellation, or I actually am just in the studio now for the next half hour. Let me know if right now is a good time to jump on a call. There's nothing like that kind of responsiveness. It sounds like you've probably already done a trick like this.
So I've done 24 hours and then 10 minutes until the call, and it's an automated text that Calendly puts up, and it's wonderful. But getting people on there sometimes still doesn't get through. But I do, the thing I want to do in the next few days is, if I see a lead come on through, text them as soon as they actually signed up for the call itself, and be like, hey, are you ready in the next half hour to talk instead of down then? So that's what I'm going to be doing.
And you can, I know for sure in Calendly you can set it up so that it's what was I going to say? It's how many days out can somebody book? I think you should really limit that to, with something like this, maybe just 4 days, 5 days tops. Yeah. Because when somebody, it's only a 10-minute thing, it doesn't really cost them anything. Fast forward the clock a week from then, the odds of them showing up to that call are very, very low. So I think that's one of the best settings, I think, to add.
Yeah,
okay.
I have it for 7 days right now, but yeah, I think I could shorten it and still, it's a great feature.
That's so cool. Okay, so I want to know, let's see, let's keep going down funnel. What kind of advice do you have for people to jump on a phone call with somebody in these 10-minute calls? What do you get a little nervous before each call? What tends to work? What mistakes have you made?
I think not leading them in the right direction with the mistakes I've made. So in the beginning, just the calls could just go on forever, just asking about their kids or whatever. And I've, told other people my process, and that's what they did. It's like a 20-minute call. It just goes on and on. But I'm just like, what are you gossiping about? But anyway, but for now, when I jump on a call, I'm not so nervous anymore, just because I have so many. As long as you get, if you do 50 phone calls, you're not going to be nervous by the 50th one. And then, but it gets me narrowed, focused into a lead in a direction. So in the very beginning, it's light conversation. What are your kids' ages? This, that, and the other. And then I say, okay, I'm going to tell you about the session itself. And by the end, if everything sounds good, we'll schedule a time to come on into the studio. They say, okay. And then that kind of makes it a little bit more formal. And then I go in the direction of, this is where the studio is located, this is what to wear, and this is how much time we have, and this is basically the fun you're going to have. Basically, I'll play music that the kids like and enjoy, and we're going to have a blast. And then at the very end, tell them how much my minimum kind of pricing is, and then ask them if it's okay with them.
So cool. Just walking them through those little baby steps. I think it's so good to just, when we can talk about, a lot of those things are autopilot for you, right? You've done that session sequence, that session flow so many times, but just talking through the day and what to plan for, it demonstrates your credibility, that you know what you're doing, your expertise, and it helps them start to picture themselves in that scenario. Right. So cool. Okay, so now let's back up and go kind of up to the landing page and up to the Facebook ad. What are some of the things at the very tippy top? How do you target using Facebook's audience builder? How are you deciding what factors to run your ads to based on this offer? And actually, before we go there, what we know is you're targeting families. Is it a mini session or is it just a portrait session? Is there any specific gift or something like that? What's the offer?
Really, basically it's $100 off. And I used to say wall credit or something for wall art, basically. And I've just said $100 off because all of my pricing, you can't get small prints anymore. Everything's matted to a high-end kind of touch to it. That's all they can get. If they ask for it, that's great. I have collections that include digitals, so they can print out their wallets if they wanted to and go from there. But
Okay, so the offer is just a session, a portrait session, and the ad is about saving $100 off of a session, off your wall credit.
Yes.
Okay, so there's an argument some people make, and I want to hear how you've kind of balanced this, is when you run an ad about saving money, that sometimes you attract people who just want a bargain, who aren't really looking to invest. What have you learned there, and how do you combat that? Like, hey, it works to get their attention. Everybody wants to save some money, but you still want them to respect you as an artist and the value of your time and the value of your products.
They get all the information basically on that phone call of me directing them to. But yes, it is $100 off. But I think we talked before we got on that would you trust a roofer, doing $500 off? You're like, okay, well, he's going to be a nice high-end roofer, and it's probably going to cost me a couple grand to replace my roof. And if you saw a coupon for a roofer that does $5 off, how are you going to trust that person? So, little things like that. So even if it says $100 off, they have in their mind, oh, this is expensive photographer possibly because he's giving $100 off a session. So in a way, it still looks like it's, I'm a good photographer basically right from the get-go from that first ad.
Okay, that helps. All right. So then what about, let's go into some of the details in your targeting in Facebook's tools. What kind of things, what's your secret sauce there? Do you tinker with that a lot, or is it kind of set and forget it?
No, I tinker with it quite a bit, and but now that it's working extremely well, I kind of set it, forget it. But the thing I do change is, this is going to be technical, but the lifetime value clients. So I have a spreadsheet of over 100 clients I've worked with in the past, and what they spent with me. So I have that all in a spreadsheet. I hand it off to Facebook. They basically make a lookalike audience from that, and they see the people that paid, thousands of dollars for a portrait session. They're going to target people that look like that to the 1%. So I give that to Facebook. So that's the first thing. And I also...
So I'm going to hold your idea. I'm going to break that down for people. So doing a lookalike audience means that if you have a list of email addresses that are likely email addresses that will match up with what the information that Facebook has, you can say, Facebook, here's a bunch of people. It sounds like you only need about 100. The bigger this list, the more accurate the data. But once you've got 100 people that have spent a lot of money with you, you say, these are my people. Like, these are the Facebook, go find me some other people like this. And my favorite thing about a lookalike audience is it's really tapping into all of these variables and like criteria that we have no idea. Like, it's just that it's really a black box. It's kind of creepy, but like they're gonna think of where the things we can choose is like trying to narrow down income and city and this thing and in preferences and pages they like. And it's kind of fun to tinker with if it's working. But with the lookalike audience, if it just does the magic for you, that's even better. So then you let that upload. And then once you have your lookalike, what is that within your city? How big is that audience do they give you? Do you have to kind of narrow that down?
So yeah, I narrow it down by city, and then I also target, you can do any age group. So if you don't like little kids, you don't have to photograph them either. So you can actually say motherhood and then moms with 4-year-olds and above, basically. They've targeted audiences for that. So you can target families that have teenagers or whatever. And that's what I've been doing in the past with high school seniors too. I would target the parents that have a 17-year-old, 16-year-old in their household. So that's how I target seniors too.
So smart. Okay. Any other magical things in Facebook you love? Any tips there?
I don't think so, but you do need to realize what the cutoff for the text at the very top is too. So when you do put an ad out, make sure that it doesn't, if you're going to do a long ad, that's fine. But if you're going to do a short ad, make sure they don't have to click read more. I want them to see the link. I want them to see the text. And this is what the offer is, like really straight to the point within almost 3 lines sometimes. I think that works best for me, at least.
So cool. Have you experimented with like the image ad? Do you think that matters a lot? What do you usually use for your artwork?
Yeah, the image matters a tremendous amount, more than people think. So I've juggled a lot of just testing out different images, and what's worked in the past is basically black and white, and that's why I'm kind of specializing more and more too, because all the photographers out there, 95% are shooting in color, and I'm just like, well, I'm going to be the one photographer in Columbus, Ohio that shoots in black and white families. So I haven't found another one.
So cool.
Simple as that. And then even if you do shoot in color or whatever, put out an ad with a nice image that gets people's attention, and black and white is definitely key, I think.
That's so smart. And even if it's just for your Facebook ad, I think that's such a great idea. As you need to think of something unique that's going to interrupt people's scrolling. They're just like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, like black and white is like a contrast. It's something different than what they're seeing in their thread. Okay, so let me see. I want to bring up my screen here so we can take a look at this landing page you've created. And this is where you are sending your traffic. So while I'm bringing this up, remind everybody the difference. Like, what was it like when you were sending traffic just to your website? And it looks like you're pretty technical. You could probably build stuff like this on other systems. Why do you use sticky folios to build your landing pages?
It's the simplicity of it that makes it work so well. There's buttons that are highlighted. People know where to go. When I send traffic there, it's a no-brainer that they have to click on this button to move forward. And there's additional information in the very bottom too, with the FAQ of, everything. If they want to read it, that's there. But if they want a shortcut to fill in the form, they have to click on those buttons, and it loads fast. It's the best thing out there.
That's so cool to hear. I love that. That was one of our big reasons why we launched it. Let me see. I'm missing my scenes menu. I want to show you guys my screen. Give me one more second. So when you are running an ad, you're sending them to an actual, like a one-page thing where there's no other menu, there's no other options for them to do stuff. What are there any other kind of promotions? Why don't you talk about how your coach has helped you kind of focus on this offer?
It's the text and the image that it's always being worked on, because it's always half and half with that Facebook ad. And getting straight to the point, as you see it now, a little bit. But mothers, wanted mothers and their daughters. That's in all caps in the Facebook ad itself. And then what the offer is and how to move forward. So it has that link on there, and that's as simple as it gets.
Click here to apply now. That's it. And I love that you're using like a nice big strong image of a mom with their family, with their daughter. You've got a gallery here. Again, all of your pictures are in black and white. So it's consistent. It resonates with the ad copy. Do a little bit about yourself at the bottom, a nice little quote, and then a good testimonial, some frequently asked questions. And then again, notice here, guys, at every time there's a good, strong call to action button. So they can click here to apply right away. And then again, you're hitting them one last time down here at the bottom. So if it's a more detail-oriented person and they need to know some details, then like, okay, yeah, fine, I'll click here. And now it looks like you've just embedded or link out, so you're embedding a
Google form.
A Google form here. What's the next step? So you want all of this information. Have you ever tinkered with kind of just taking email address to get a little bit higher conversion rate here?
It still converts regardless. It's if I don't want to tinker with it if it's going to mess up anything. It's working. Yeah. I mean, you should see the file of how many people filled into this. It's like, I think it's 1,400 or something like that have filled in this form. So the numbers are up there. And then it's great when you have like a special promotion. I have all of those emails. So in case something's going on, if I ever would want to do a mini session, then I have all of that right at my fingertips.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just for the sake of workshopping, have you ever... So Sticky Folios does not have any kind of A/B testing baked in. We're going to get pretty nerdy just because Brian is awesome and I'm just all inspired by this. Within Facebook's tools, I'm pretty sure you can do a A/B test where you're just giving Facebook two different URLs. Have you ever done that at all? I
have not, but yeah, I'm always tinkering and testing out more and more as much as I can find out, and I kind of just use the guidance with my coach too. Because he's working with, I think, 25 other photographers as well. So if there's a process that's working for someone else, he's like, okay, let's try it with the whole group and see how it works out. And I actually now do the session and then edit the photos extremely quickly within 20 minutes and have them view the photos right after the session, basically.
What do you have them do?
So I don't know if that would...
What do you have them do while you're editing?
Well, they have their own devices. I mean, everyone has a cell phone, so they just pop on Netflix or whatever, and it's like, hey, if you need the Wi-Fi password, here it is. And the kids are on it, so I don't have to do anything. I was thinking of like maybe I should have a Wii or something in the corner for the kids to play with. No, they're on their phones.
Never got their own. It's like all of these. You rent these big cars nowadays, and they've got the big screens in the back. It's like nobody ever. My kids were like, "What's that, Dad? What's that for?"
Exactly.
Never mind. Don't worry about it. Here's your iPad.
Yeah, that was one of those things with the group that someone started to do same day viewing, and I have done this with weddings from as soon as the iPad came out. I was like, okay, I can put the photos in the iPad, edit during dinner, and the wedding couple can view the photos right then. So now it's basically a preset and a little bit of tweaking. They see their photos, and then they're all hyped up still from the session too. So they're ready to buy right there. So it's great.
That's so cool. Congratulations, Brian. I love that this focus on numbers. You're a business owner who happens to be a photographer, and it really shows. It's so refreshing. Guys, I have guests like Brian on because I want more and more people to see the difference in the language, in the choices, in the approach, in the mindset between somebody who's really struggling and somebody who's created a business that's thriving, that he gets to be as busy as he wants, he gets to control his profit. All of these things are attainable. I also want people to hear and see that it's not like Brian didn't have this figured out right away. It was a journey to get there by working with a coach, with other people, and learning and testing and continuing to stick with it. So cool to hear this story. Thank you for sharing all of the success and the lessons learned. This has just been a blast.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You actually have a phone call in 3 minutes with a potential client, so I'm going to let you run. Guys, thank you so much. Brian, I'll have him come join the conversation below if you're watching the replay. Feel free to ask questions of both of us, and we'll keep the conversation going. Have an awesome rest of your day. Cheers.
Sure. Thanks.
Bye-bye.